I want to welcome Brian Abrahams. Many of you that worked in and around occupational therapy and housing will have come across Brian and the work that he's been doing over, I think, about 20 odd years, Brian, around Turning Circle. So Brian's come to talk about some of the work that he's been doing and the app that he's developed. So I'm going to stop sharing. There we go, hopefully. Brian, are you able to, hopefully you can, I don't know if you've got a PowerPoint that you want to load up. Yes, I can hear you, Brian. Yes, we can hear you.
You can hear me. That's great. Yeah, I'll to my shame, this is the first foundation meeting I've attended. I shall try to put that right in the future. So yeah, I primarily want to show you the app, but I'll just very briefly just tell you a little bit of my own story behind it. I've been working up here in Newcastle City Council adaptations team since 1983. 1983, which is a long time ago, and I've never done anything else. And I've never lost, I guess, my excitement and passion for it. But I've always been puzzled. I'm puzzled by everything. But not least, I've always been puzzled by adaptations for wheelchairs and wheeled equipment. There are so many incidents that come to mind where I just found myself bewildered. I remember a woman in hospital, and we had an adaptation proposal already drawn. And while she was in hospital, wheelchair services became involved and decided that her wheelchair needed to be 6 inches wider. And I was expected to know how that might affect the proposal. And it was all guesswork. I remember providing a forecaster shower chair for somebody and doing a trial with it, and everything was perfect. And then when his wife was in the shower chair, he couldn't move it, and reasonably so. And why was that? Why did it move so easily before, but not once she occupied it? And then the person whose legs were extended, and I remember a woman who's had a contraction. It was such, her head was, it was probably about 500 millimeters projecting over the side of her wheelchair. And then when manual handling became such an issue, and people were saying, oh, it's too difficult to maneuver the wheelchair, and trying to make those judgments. And while there was loads of occasions when I didn't know what I was doing, there were so many occasions when I was just absolutely puzzled and bewildered, and I didn't want to guess. I wanted something surer than that. So in 2000, year 2000, that was a special year because my children stopped being financially dependent and my mortgage left. So I had this wonderful opportunity to wonder what I ought to do. And I was in two minds. I'm a Christian involved in the local church, so I did actually think about going part-time and doing something at church, but then I thought, no. I know this is a very outdated way to speak about one's work, but I do feel a sense of it being a vocation and a calling. And I thought, oh, I wonder if I could just add something. Perhaps I could just take one of those areas I'm puzzled by and add something, not just myself, but to others. So that's where it began in the year 2000. And I had absolutely no intention of doing anything except occupational therapy. But the problem was the only way I could, sort of tangle this issue about wheelchairs and what space it took up was by using mechanical engineering. And I couldn't get anybody to solve the problems for me. So I had to do it for myself. And that's what I was doing between 2002 up to 2023, working through undergrad, well, not postgraduate, and then postdoctoral research to try and figure it out, and particularly in the area of manual handling wheelchairs. And then the issue come up is, well, how do I share what I've done with other people? And I don't know, I may have met some of you because I did quite a few sort of road shows using these little primitive plastic templates. where you drew it out. You could draw out the movement of a wheelchair on a piece of paper using a pen. Seems very primitive now. And that was quite limited and tedious to do. And it just happens I have an iPad, and Apple came up with this a program for children for programming. So that gave me the idea maybe I could produce an app, and that's where it went from there. And that's what I want to show you is this app. So let me see if I can share my screen. Always a kind of going to try and share my iPad screen. Right. Can somebody tell me whether you can see my iPad screen?
Yes.
Brilliant. And you're seeing two wheelchairs and a couple of rulers?
Yes, we
Yes.
can, Brian. Yes, yeah, it's looking good. Yeah.
Oh, that's great. So this is the app, and it's showing two wheelchairs. And the idea of the app is it allows you to represent the size of wheelchairs, and you can do all sorts of things with them. You can get them to turn. You can get them to change the tightness of what the turn is. You can change the actual layout of the chair. You can make the seats, you can make it, you can make it wider, you can narrower, you can change the footrest length, make it longer. You can choose different types of wheeled equipment. There's a mobile hoist. Here is one of the mid-drive wheelchairs. Show you where the wheels are. Move those out a bit. Yeah, and so on and so forth. You've got complete control of the turn and also of the wheelchair type. Let me go back to, so for example, let's take a situation where you've got somebody who's in a very tilted back chair, and you've got to make a decision about a ramp platform. So you can just set this up very easily, and let's just imagine the chair is coming out the house from the top of the page there, and you can see quite clearly, if we just have to assume that the chair is going to start its turn when it comes out of the house. And we can see quite clearly we're not going to get a turn like that in 1200 millimeter depth platform. We can ask questions. Well, okay, maybe we don't need to have the maximum risk avoidance. You know, we're not worried about that. We can actually change the turn and make it into the tightest turn and have a look at that again, and actually discover it doesn't make any difference really to the ramp depth. So we can go through all these things with different size wheelchairs. And also, if we want to look at plans, we can load up a plan. We start off by scaling the plan. This is already set, preset. I just do a check here, make sure my plan and my scale are the same. Yep, that's all fine. And I can take my turn here if this was the relevant wheelchair size, and I can place my little template in there and see where the intrusion is between the turn of the wheelchair. And as I say, you can change the turn if you want to ask questions about other types of turns. Let's say if you were to turn it very tightly, you get a sense of what happens in different positions. And that essentially is an illustration of what this app can do. Now, please feel free to ask any questions about the app, but I guess my main interest in hearing from you is not so much about the app itself, but what the app's trying to achieve. The main point I'm making in this is that I think that in an adaptation service, there ought to be the opportunity not simply to have a circle drawn on an adaptation proposal, but rather that we ought to be able to show the path of a wheelchair. And it may be that 19 times out of 20, that's not required, or even it's less frequently, but occasionally there's a need to actually show the path of the wheelchair to demonstrate that that particular proposal either isn't going to work, or to demonstrate that a particular proposal will work. And that's why I'd be interested to hear what you have to say. But do please ask me any questions you want about the app.
Yeah, Kirsty's got a hand up. Kirsty, do you want to ask a question? I've got a couple of questions, but yeah, Kirsty, do you want to come in? Nice to see you, by the way.
Thank you, Rachel, and thank you for having me once again. I am absolutely delighted to see this, and thank you so much for putting all your efforts into it. It looks fabulous. So there's a couple of questions I have for you, Brian, about one of them is, and this couldn't be more timeous for me actually, because I've just been out to see a complex adaptation where we are looking towards trying to convert some space, very limited space, may I add. Ordinarily, we wouldn't be going down this route, but there is no other option to allow for a shower trolley accessible bathroom, wet room. And it's so tight. I can't explain how tight it's like it is. So but we would not be looking towards tracking the person room to room for a variety of reasons. So it's really important that we know what that swing is for. So my question is, could I use this for a shower trolley? Yep, yeah, and I can see you're immediately answering that question, which is fabulous. My second question was, I know that this is only Apple at the moment that you have the license for. I wondered, and I just think from an ease of point of view of us looking at drawings that come in from our counterparts, architects, etc., if there's any way we can get to use it on standard PCs, etc., that would be so useful.
Yeah, Kirsty, if you wanted to send me a screenshot, I'm quite happy to do an overlay of the shower stretcher for you if you want to email that to me.
Oh my goodness, over and above, that would be amazing.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Now, the thing is, all of this is purely all my own time. So whether this goes beyond this Apple product, I think really depends on whether there's sufficient interest. If there's sufficient interest, and that would be worldwide, then I'm sure somebody will be interested in taking it forward. But if it's just a handful of people, and by handful, I mean, I don't think anybody commercially would be interested if there was only 100 people or something like that. So whether it goes more generally into PC and Android, I think it really depends. Yeah, I don't think I've got the time to do that. I don't think so. Yeah, so uncertain.
Thank you. I mean, it was just a bit of a cheeky ask, I know, because you can tell how much time and dedication it would take. But such a simple concept, really helpful.
Thank you.
Brian, I think certainly from a foundation's point of view, we'd probably be interested in having a conversation with you in terms of that. I've got the boss sat next to me. He's probably wondering what I'm saying because he can't hear the end of the conversation. But we can pick up a conversation with you afterwards, Brian, because I think we would be interested around looking at that, because it's like you say, it's hard in our world, isn't it? Because like you say, from a commercial point of view, we're not talking about thousands and thousands, but actually the impact that this tool could have for the hundreds of OTs that would find it useful. So I'm happy to pick up a conversation afterwards. Elaine, nice to see you, Elaine. Have you got your hand up? You're on mute, Elaine, sorry. Oh, no, can't hear you, sorry. Hope that.
Right, can you hear me now?
We can, Elaine, yes.
Oh,
yeah.
lovely. Hello, Brian. Thank you. This looks absolutely excellent. How much is it?
It's free.
Is it a subscription or?
It's free.
I can't hear.
It's free.
It's free. Oh, free.
Yes.
Don't get much free these days. Lovely, thank you. Very
What's
interesting.
it called, please?
Wheelchair turning space.
Wheelchair turning space.
But you have to either, you can do it on an iPhone, but it's a lot easier to use on an iPad.
Yeah.
Oh, that might just be because my fingers are, old. I find it easier on iPad, but you can get it for iPhone and iPad, and it's free.
Lovely. Thank you.
Brilliant. Has anybody got any other questions for Brian? Can I just ask, there was one bit where it says risk avoidance bit. Can you just talk us through a little bit about what that means? I think there were like different categories.
Yeah, we'll do it with the shower stretcher. We might as well keep the shower stretcher on. And yeah, so the important thing about when there is somebody assisting with any kind of wheeled equipment, with somebody assisting, unless it's a powered wheelchair assistance, apart from that, a critical part of what is happening is not just the physical space of the wheeled equipment, it is also whether it's going to be too demanding for the person assisting. And that would be particularly true with a shower stretcher. There are ways in which a shower stretcher will move, in which it would be absolutely impossible to get it to move, and ways in which it will move very naturally with very little difficulty. So encoded into the app is the opportunity to actually ensure that your movement is going to be easy, as opposed to being catastrophically difficult. Now, obviously, the app it's not measuring any forces. What the app is showing you is that if you're going to move it, this is the best way to move it. So what you're seeing here, if you can imagine that the carer is standing at the top of the page, at the back of the stretcher, then that stretcher is going to tend to move in that space, in the way I've shown you. Now, if the carer was standing at the bottom of the page and you wanted to turn that way, you would have to be, the strongest person in the world to be able to make a stretcher turn in that direction. The stretcher is interesting because the stretcher amplifies this factor, which is true of all things on forecasters, from forecaster commodes to tilt and space shower chairs. It would also include shopping trolleys as well. So, but if you want to ignore it, you can switch that off, and it will let you can then move this stretcher any way you want. So you've got the option to do that, or there's a kind of halfway.
Okay, brilliant. I think somebody else had the hand up, but it's gone down. Has anybody, I think it might have been Sue, has anybody got any questions?
Sorry, I just posted the question in the Q&A instead.
Let me have a look. Yeah, do you want to ask your questions, Sue? Sorry.
Well, it was just around the issue of generating interest, because I think it's amazing and would be really, really useful. And it was just whether you've had any contact with the regional or national ADAS principal OT networks.
With which network?
The ADAS networks. So there's a regional and national one for principal occupational therapists.
No, I haven't. I haven't. But thank you for that suggestion.
Okay, I can forward you contact details if that's any help.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. That would be.
Kirsty, you've got your hand up again.
Just on the same sort of idea, what about ARCOT as well? Have they been contacted about it, Brian?
I mean, I guess they have an innovations section, and I did let them know about it.
Right.
But I don't know that, and nothing's really come of that. Yeah.
I just wonder if there's something that they could put on their communities pages.
Yeah, there's because obviously there's the, oh God, what's it called? Inclusive environments, I think it's called,
Yeah,
communities. Might be worthwhile putting it there, Brian.
Yeah, I think you kindly posted something
Did
about
I?
it for me.
Oh.
You did, yes, you did.
I'm at that age, Brian, when I never know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
The other one as well is on there's a mods for OT or OT for mods. I can never remember which way round they are, but on Facebook as well, Brian. I don't know if you do Facebook, but that's another, and that is an international group.
Right.
So if you're not on Facebook, I'm happy to post it for you.
That would be great.
Yeah, I can do
Thank
that.
you.
Yeah.
And can I just ask back again? I mean, maybe you could just do it with a show of hands. I mean, I don't mean with intention of speaking, but this idea I've got, and here I'm saying I'm saying an adaptation service ought to be able, when required, nothing to do with my app, do it by any means you can, but it ought to be able to show the path of a wheelchair. And I say I mean, there's been loads of occasions when that would be absolute overkill, but simply that it should be able to do that and just show you where the wheelchair is going to move for the particular client's wheelchair size. I mean, do people agree with that, or do you think I'm overstating things?
I think I don't know whether hands are going up just to show that they're agreeing with
just get an impression of whether it's just me or whether it's, So generally, some people do anyway,
So I don't want to talk for other people, but I think from my perspective as an occupational therapist and for anybody that's involved in adaptations, certainly when you're designing something, you need to be able to, it's that bit around being able to know whether the design is actually going to work. And I think obviously when we did the big DFG review back in 2018, one of the kind of recommendations in that review was the need to use more tools, CAD tools, etc., to better not only to be able to communicate with the individual getting the adaptation, what it's going to be like, but also about that analysis bit, because there's not many interventions that you would provide without really knowing whether it's going to work or not. So for me, Brian, the joys of tools like yourself, or the importance of tools such as yourself, and a bit about what Paul and myself are going to be talking about in terms of things like Modi, is that it's not just about communicating design ideas, it's that way that we can analyse whether we've got that person environment fit and whether it's going to work. So it's that bit around you know, simple things like informed consent. This kind of stuff will enable us to know whether something is or isn't going to work. And sometimes, I know many of you work with architects, and sometimes trying to persuade architects, surveyors that something is or isn't going to work is hard when you're just trying to say, we know it's not going to work. But at least with tools like this, it just gives you that additional evidence base. So for me, Brian, it's critical, without sounding dramatic, you know, it's you know, if there are tools like this and we're not using them, then I do have concerns that we're not making best use of these tools to actually support us with our clinical reasoning.
Yes.
Carrie, you've still got your hand up. Did you want to come in?
Yeah, I was just going to say, when you're kind of saying, is there much interest, or what do you think about this? We literally had a case that I've discussed this week, looking at, can we get this in the footprint of the house? And we'll move the back door, and actually, if we'll try and squeeze the bathroom a bit smaller, and it's kind of, there's 2 rooms on the ground floor that we're trying to make into 4. So actually, like you just said exactly the right thing of the flow through the house, rather than that the wheelchair is going to be parked there and it's a square and it's going to stay there. Actually, like you say, where the carer is going to stand and swing that round. I've got a young lady, she's 14 and she's having tonic-clonic seizures. Her turning circle needs to be a lot larger, but she also needs space while she's being hoisted. She can't hit into the wheelchair that's parked over on the edge. So this kind of thing for me to work through, it was like a colleague peer discussion that we've had to work out, is it going to work? How's it going to work? Will it work within the footprint? To actually map it out and go, imagine this, right? That's where her wheelchair is. That's her out of her wheelchair. That's where her bed is. And rather than it being a square that moves from that side of the room to that side of the room, actually this kind of arc with a carer pushing it is a completely different story. But this could be used in so many circumstances. This can be used by removal companies trying to get a bed out of a window. This can be used by parents looking to buy a house, or a disabled person looking to move, or this could be all over the place. Especially with it free being on Apple, like you don't have to be a trained OT to use it.
No, that's there for anyone.
I'm going to forward it to my friend in Australia for sure.
Thank you.
So hopefully that's given you your answer, Brian.
Yep.
Yeah, I think any tools that we've got, I mean, what's been lovely, because I've known you for many, many years, Brian, is being able to see the journey that you've been on since 2000. You know, the fact that you've gone from paper templates that you had at one point to obviously the plastic templates to this. So it's an absolute joy to have kind of seen, and I know there's many on the lines that have known you for a number of years, Brian. I think we all feel the same, that it's just so wonderful to have seen kind of how things have developed. So yeah, brilliant job. And I'll pick up a conversation with you as well around the Android bits and pieces. But yeah, just a huge thank you, Brian, for coming along this afternoon.